between the two groups. Neither thing mattered, because they weren't going back to deliver the terms of the ceasefire to their bosses. They were headed straight to jail on a list of charges that would keep them behind bars the rest of their lives. "You won't have time to regret what you did," Iceman warned. "Payback is a bitch." An egomaniac like Manny overreacted to taunts like that. King didn't know why Iceman, a guy as cold and calculating as his name implied, goaded the other man rather than sticking to business. He had to know Manny would push back. And in a split second, he did, pulling the small pistol from his jacket. Iceman stood with his back to King. He couldn't see Iceman's face, but the man went stock still and spread his hands wide and held them out at his sides. "I'll fucking kill you right here, right now, asshole." Manny practically spit out the words, pointing the gun right in Iceman's face. "Go," King ordered into his mic. They needed to use this distraction to their advantage and get these two in cuffs before Manny killed Iceman and the DEA lost its chance to get the goods on Guzman's crew. "No, you won't." Iceman's words boasted confidence. Too much. A chill danced up King's spine. Manny's eyes narrowed. King knew exactly what was coming and made the split-second choice. He fired to Iceman's right, hitting the cement floor, kicking up chunks, and predictably making Iceman step to his left. Manny froze, surprised by the shot. King pinned Manny in his sight and fired, killing the man before Manny shot Iceman. Iceman spun around. Even though he couldn't possibly see King, he smiled and gave King a two-finger salute. DEA agents poured into the building on both sides. Manny's man started firing, drawing agents in his direction. It gave Iceman's man the few seconds he needed to toss out two smoke bombs. Visibility obscured, King didn't have a shot at Iceman. He couldn't take out the unarmed man anyway. He swore, shifted focus, and took out Manny's man as he fired at and held back the other agents. What should have been an easy takedown turned into a fucking mess, and Iceman got away. King swore when he spotted the open window that had originally been blocked by a heavily laden rack of boxes. A window King didn't see behind the obstacle that King now realized was on wheels and shoved aside to provide the perfect escape. King hoped one of the agents left to cover the building outside intercepted Iceman, but the sound of two motorcycles indicated the men had found an easy escape. Too easy. The DEA had been played. The intercepted message was nothing but a ruse to get the DEA here. On a much more disturbing note, Iceman set King up to make the kill. He'd wanted Manny dead and used King to do it for him, knowing Manny would come armed. That inept search by his man had been purposeful. Iceman had led Manny to believe he had the advantage. All the while, Iceman coldly planned and executed his death without firing a shot himself. Iceman set King and the DEA up as the scapegoat so the Castillo family didn't go after Guzman for Manny's death. King let loose a string of curses, laid down his rifle and his forehead on his hands, and vowed he'd get that bastard if it was the last thing he ever did. Chapter 1. 15 months later. King limped down the path, chain-link fence topped with razor wire on both sides of him, and an armed guard at his back. He wanted to run from this place and never look back. He'd hated every second he'd spent behind bars. Although he hadn't broken the law to get here, a part of him believed he deserved the last 153 days in jail for what happened to Aaron long before he ended up locked in a cell. He shook off those dark thoughts, buried his guilt once again, and concentrated on the man standing outside the gate ahead. He stopped in front of it and gave his DEA counterpart, Trigger, an irreverent grin. "You have no idea how much I want to tell them to keep your ass locked up." Trigger stood with his arms folded over his chest. "How will you win back the title if you don't let me out of here?" A mocking smile tugged at King's lips. He'd won the last shooting contest, stealing the title of best shot from Trigger. His last many months undercover in the state prison had him out of practice. He'd be no match for Trigger right now. Trigger signaled for the officer at King's side to go ahead and let him out. Before he stepped past, the officer held out his hand. King took it and held firm while the guy found the words so obvious in his gratitude-filled gaze. "Thank you for saving my life, Flash." His cellmate, Scott, gave him the nickname because of the lightning bolt scar on his arm.